welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. So in today's episode we're going to jump back into episode 6 of The Haunting of Hill House, The Two Storms. So I especially love this episode because you are kind of just after the halfway mark between, the fact that it's 10 episodes. We've just hit the halfway mark, and this is where I think the story and the season really starts to build now. It's kind of started that snowball effect, and now we know that Nell is the bent neck lady. Just the cat's now been let out the bag. We just know a hell of a lot more than what we did. We still are. So far, there's still a lot more for us to learn, but we are well on our way now. So I would have to also put out, especially for this specific episode, that the acting across the board now on adult actors and child actors was absolutely on point, phenomenal. Because, and I only know this because whilst I was rewatching it, I also did a bit of research to try and find out something completely different that was related to the series, but ended up finding this out. A lot of the scenes that were in episode 6 were done in one fell swoop. Like, I think there's one scene, and I think it's nearly 20 minutes long, and it was done in one take. Now, and this is scenes where it flits from the past to the present, from child actors to adult actors. This is where nobody can fluff up their lines. Everybody has to get to their mark in exactly the right time, because otherwise lights and, shadow, shade, light, dark, all that won't work, and everybody will have to start again. They did it. So, and the dialogue that's in this episode, like, you just gotta hand it to the actors. I know I keep going on about how well they all portray their characters, etc., but you just kind of give them credit where credit is due, and I really just feel very strongly about that. So, let's jump into the actual episode, shall we? So, everybody's at the funeral home, not on the day of the funeral, but just the day before, I think it is. And the family are just gathering to gather, I guess, just to get everyone together in their own way. Hugh's going to be there, Luke's going to be there. And even at the beginning of this, when Shirley and Theo are sat, not together, but they're sat in the same room, and Shirley sort of says, "Oh, don't fuck this up, Luke," and excuse my French, and also, Nellie always tried to get us in the same room, and she was always trying to get us together, and then the camera pans to Theo, and Theo's like, somebody needed to tell her she didn't need to try this hard, and you kind of have to laugh at that in a way, but not at the same time. And because again, it's grief. It's what grief does to you, kind of come out with things that you don't mean or you wouldn't necessarily say, but it's just how you're feeling at that moment. Also, sorry about the fact that it's suddenly gone dark in here again. Sun must have just gone behind the clouds again. So then you enter Luke and Steve arriving at the funeral home, and then Luke having to try and go and see Nell's body, and it's too hard for him. He can't deal with it, and it was so well done and well portrayed because of the fact that it's hard for any sibling to see their sibling die or in a casket, but to see your twin must be just 10 times worse. It must be really, really, really hard. So yeah, due to the fact that it flips between when they were kids and obviously present day, there is a storm going on at the funeral home when everyone's gathering to see Nell, and obviously there is a storm at the Hill House when they're all kids. So I do like the fact that they called it the two storms, and they obviously incorporated the two storms. So yeah. Then the huge bombshell that really, like, it was good that they put it in there, but it was something that was going to obviously divide the entire family. Like, just, it was going to divide them, and it was just an unnecessary time for this to come up. But you know, when families gather and a lot of like stuff went down with that family, any little thing is going to just set everybody off. So the secret then comes out that everybody took the money, even Shirley, even though she didn't know it. So, you know, Shirley is kicking off at everybody about the fact that they took the money. Then Theo is like, I took the money. I took the money. I wanted to get my PhD. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that. It's good money. You know, everyone who has taken the money thus far has done good with it. They haven't just thrown it away. They've done good with it. And then Anthony is like, oh God, here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. Oh, we took the money too, Shell. And she's like, what? No, we didn't. I didn't do it. And then he's like, well, I did. Because I think at the end of the day, they needed the money as well. Because jumping into a previous episode, they are talking about accounts with, or like Anthony and Shirl are talking about accounts, and obviously Anthony's gone to see their accountant, and they're in the red. So, no, the black. I think they're in the black. So, Anthony keeps saying to Shirley, like, you can't keep giving away funerals at such a low cost because they are people or clients who are not have a sob story but have, you know, you have a price for a funeral, you need to stick to it basically. And Shirley's like, oh, but we're okay, aren't we? And Anthony's like, well, yeah. And no one really got it before. But then obviously as well, whilst doing the books, Shirley finds that second checkbook, which is only in Anthony's name. Shirley thinks he's having an affair. All these different things go through her mind when in reality it was actually the money. And I don't think in Shirley's wildest dreams, and she obviously jumped straight to the conclusion that he was having an affair, or something like that, that the thought of the fact that he took the money never even entered her mind. So I think that was really sad, because then obviously she felt so betrayed, because she obviously has been on her high horse and she has, you know, said some really harsh things about, especially like Theo, like, you know, she was like, you freeloaded off me, you've been staying in the guest house for free almost, and you had that money, and like, oh, you know, she's just kicking off. And then she has to kind of come down to the ground with one almighty thump, because she also took the money, even though she like didn't go up to Stephen herself and say, can I have the money? It's still, because she's married, it's still theirs, if that makes any sense. And that was everybody was kicking off, and it was just not, it was bad. It was really, really, really bad. So that secret was out. Then you see Olivia, or you see Hugh talking to somebody who we kind of find out in this episode is Olivia, and the fact that she's always really been there with Hugh. She's never really left him, and she's almost trying to like coach him through repairing his very fractured relationship with his kids. So, you know, Steve, again, he automatically jumps onto the rationalization bandwagon and is like, it's down to mental illness. There you go, Dad's talking to himself yet again. How does this family not see that we all have this genetic mental illness? Like, you know, he just really, again, is trying to solely rationalize it on mental illness. So, yeah. Then you see that horrible moment when Steve and Hugh are just going at it. Mainly Stephen letting out all this pent up rage that he has had, kept inside him for all these years. And then he says, you know, the wrong parent died. And then Nell's coffin just... I don't know what happens. I don't know whether the table that the coffin is on just gives out or what, but her coffin basically falls off the table that it's on, and she just, like, not plops out, but she kind of just, you know. One thing I probably would have said that was a little bit far-fetched with that scene is, obviously it's been such a long time now since Nellie died, so rigor mortis would have set in, so when her coffin fell, her neck wouldn't have moved and her arms wouldn't have moved. They would have quite possibly stayed very still. Again, I'm not, you know, an expert in deceased people and rigor mortis and all this, that and the other, but you kind of think that if somebody has died, and it's been, Jesus, I don't know how long it's been since Nellie died, but it's been long enough that, you know, she wouldn't be, her arms wouldn't just move and things like that. So yeah, I thought that was a teeny weeny bit far-fetched, but that's my only slight grievance with it. So, you know, we're not gonna go into it too much. But in that sense of her coffin falling to the ground in the midst of such a really horrible argument where Stephen says that the wrong parent died, it's almost like Nellie is trying to stop an argument even though she is not there. Because I am pretty damn sure that if she was there and that happened, she would have been in between Stephen and Hugh being like, enough, stop it. Yeah, so that is... it was a very good scene, but again, just because of my little kind of about it. Then you have that moment where everyone's like, do you know what? Enough is enough for today. We've all said quite a lot. It's all been very emotional, and Stephen and Luke decide to leave, and Luke is sort of, you know, he's holding Nellie's hand and he's kind of saying her goodbyes and everything, and then you flash back to the scene where in the Two Storms at Hill House when they were kids, Nellie was apparently standing right in front of all the family, or especially her siblings, and they could not see her, you know, and the dialogue just punches you straight in the feels, because then Luke is like, I will never let you go again. And then Nellie is like, I was standing there and nobody could see me. And then obviously the camera pans around and Nellie is stood there, and she has been there in a few different shots, especially when her coffin falls and the camera is facing to the back of the room and you've got like all the siblings, and Hugh stood there and she is just in the background. And again, nobody can see her. It's almost like she's there and she's calling out to her family, but they can't see her. And that, again, it just pulls at the heartstrings. It's horrible. It's really, really, really bad. Yeah, sorry, I just realised I've said that. Yeah, she was like, I was standing right here and nobody could see me. And it's little now, so it's back to Violet McGraw. And just the way she says things as well, like in that really young kiddie voice, it again pulls on your heartstrings. You just can't help it. So you kind of jump back to when Nell immediately enters Hill House, and she is just hit with a trainload of memories and feelings and so much stuff that, well, illusions as well. Like, you know, Olivia's there with, you know, "Welcome home, Nell" written on the wall, and she immediately says, "I'm sorry," because obviously it was like, I don't know whether she was saying sorry because it was writing on the wall, which is again a flashback from when the name Nell was written behind the wallpaper, and they thought that Nell had done it, etc. Or whether it was the fact that she... No, it would have been about that, because she hadn't actually gone up to the library yet. So yeah, maybe it was just the fact that she was just saying sorry about the wallpaper. Yeah. So, you kind of, am I on the right damn thing here? Because I swear I'm not on the right one. Hang on. Okay, we're going to jump into episode 7, which is the Eulogy. I would say that this is probably Shirley's episode. Episode 6, sorry, isn't really anybody's, it's kind of everybody's, because there's so much that goes on in it that relates to everybody. So, we start off episode 7 with the the morning after the night before, which was obviously the big storm. It was the big reveal that everybody had taken Stephen's money, or taken money from the book, for whatever reason, including Shirley. So she feels very, very betrayed by her husband. And also, when the lights go out, you also have the scene where Shirley goes to, I don't know where she's going, whether she's going to get torches, whether she's going to check the backup generator or whatever. Anyway, she opens the door and it looks like her husband and Theo are getting off, basically. She doesn't stick around to find out what goes on. She just immediately is like, nope, and hot foots it out of there, and she's like, you know, so she's really hurting at the moment. But the thing that I didn't get when I was watching it as well is Theo is a lesbian. She likes girls. Like, she has, you know, how many times has Shirley been sat out on the porch of the house, and one of Theo's, I don't know what, like, hookups, so to speak, have been leaving. Like, she even says, like, when I asked you to, you know, when I let you move into the guest house, I didn't expect a pussy parade. So, so yeah, and excuse my terminology, but that is literally what is said in the show. So the fact that she immediately, like, doesn't even stop to think, my sister is a lesbian, I have seen her with women, yet she's got off with my husband. I think she's just hurting so much that she's just done, if that makes any sense. And she's very angry. I would say that Shirley is probably the most angriest person in the entire show. So, you know, again, you know, her husband is like, can we talk? And she's like, you know, how are we going to talk? You're going to be back at the hotel. Like, she just doesn't give him an inch at all. And then he tries to be like, you know, please can we talk? Please can we talk? Please can we talk? And everybody knows that argument where a guy and his girlfriend or his wife or his partner or whatever is arguing, and the guy just says just too much, and the woman she only has to turn around and just give that look, and the guy's like, oh, okay, I'm gone. We all know it, we've all seen it, maybe we've even done it, who knows, but it only takes a look. So yeah, then we jump back in with the past, where you hear like scratching behind the walls. With Hill House, it could be anything. It could be rats, or it could be more. You just never know. There's just so much there with that house, and do you know what I mean? Like, there's just a lot. So, Oh, where is it? Yeah, there is, again, you flash back to the present again, and there is a really, really nice moment where Theo and Hugh kind of, they don't make up, but they're on the level with each other, where Theo kind of says, like, you tried, I didn't want to know, you don't realize you have, you see people mess up, but you don't realize you've messed up until you see someone else mess up. I can't remember exactly how she puts it, but Hugh kind of just sits there and is like, I'll go with this, like, this is progress, like. And then you see Olivia there, and she's kind of saying, didn't expect that, that was good, I'll take that, so to speak. And the fact that you kind of know from that sentence that she has always been there with him, like, she never left. And do you know what? I kind of like it. I know it sounds a bit creepy, and it's a bit kind of like, creepy, but I like it. I like the story and the level of love behind it. It's kind of like love just doesn't die, if that makes any sense. And yeah, kind of Olivia helps him by kind of coaching him and saying, like, don't push, let them come to you. Don't, when Luke is chatting, well, he's not chatting, he's just sat with Hugh, and Hugh kind of says, look, I didn't get a chance to tell you yesterday, but I'm really, really, really proud of you for your 90-day chip. But Luke's kind of like, oh, thanks, Dad, but doesn't really say very much, and Olivia's like, don't push him, he doesn't want to make this all about him, because he knows it's about his sister. So Hugh just kind of like listens to her and keeps stum, basically. Then Luke gets up at Nellie's funeral to give his, not speech, but just to say a few words, and the fact that, he was born 90 seconds before Nell, and that he would use that against her, like siblings do. And, it was such a lovely speech, and, ending it with the fact that, yes, I was born 90 seconds before Nell, but she will always be, my big sister, almost. And again, it just hits you right in the feels. You kind of sit there and you can't help but get emotional over it, because it is so sad, and you have invested a lot of your time and a lot of your energy into these characters and the storyline, so you can't help but get upset about it, if that makes any sense. So yeah, then you have another scene with the Dudleys. I keep wanting to call them the Dursleys, but it's not, it's the Dudleys. And the fact that they seem to know more than what they're letting on. And again, it keeps that, I can't think of what the word is now, but it keeps that moment of mystery. It keeps that mystery alive, that there is something else going on and something more to come, if that makes, it gives you that edge, if that makes sense. Because Shirley is still like on her high horse with everything, she's just getting really irritating. She needs to come down a peg or two almost, and just check herself and have a bit of a word with herself and be like, actually, do you know what? I'm not as kind of squeaky clean as I make out to be. So you then have that moment where Hugh is trying to speak to Luke about what he's seen, what he thinks he knows, everything else like that. And because of everything, I guess, that Hugh said to possibly Luke and the kids when they were younger, is the fact that big boys know the difference between what's real and what's not, etc. And then you have that what's the word? You have that moment of where the camera pans down and it's on a purse. You don't know whose purse it is, but it's open, and you kind of think, okay, that's a bit weird. And then Olivia stands behind Hugh and she's like, you knew it was wrong. You knew it looked wrong, but you did nothing. You didn't say anything. You didn't do anything. So in one respect, Olivia is very good, but there's also that essence of her being not bad, but being a bit like, you didn't do anything kind of thing. It's like, but still playing the blame game, if that makes sense. Then you know, Shirley kind of says, my credit card's gone, I've got to pay the you know, something for the funeral she has to pay for. Then Theo comes in and says, you know, has somebody stolen my car? You know, knowing Shirley again being just irritating, is like, you know, nobody cares, you know, the place is closed, go away. Everyone's kind of like having their arguments. So much happens with these scenes and stuff like that, and because this is how I've kind of done it, I've rewatched The Haunting of Hill House, and I've made notes on it as I'm going. So it's as I'm watching, sorry. So sometimes you kind of like think, oh, have I jumped ahead of where I am? But no, I think I'm still on the right path. I think. Yeah, obviously at Nell's funeral, when she's being put into the ground, Luke is saying goodbye, and when he looks up, he sees Nell, and then when he looks down, he sees his mum, and his mum's like, I think she's kind of saying like, come home, stay with me, don't leave me, and then Nell's like, no, don't. Which obviously causes then Hugh to speak to Luke about, like, you know, what he thinks he's seen and everything else. Also, the fact that, you know, Stephen, again, trying to rationalise everything by saying, you know, I've seen a lot of things this week, but it's all in your head. Seriously, after everything everyone's been through up until this precise moment, and you're still trying to rationalise everything. Stephen, seriously. Stop it. It's so annoying. Just like literally just accept that everything that your siblings and yourself have seen over the years is actually real and has actually happened, for God's sake. Like, you know, you just kind of want to shake him until he realises that everything's real. You also then kind of go back to the past, where you start to see Olivia fall apart more. You see her space out a lot more. The fact that she, you know, we didn't really know where she goes when she spaces out, but then all of a sudden Hugh is showing her the blueprints for the Forever House, and the fact that she has just drawn the blueprints for Hill House over and over and over again. And that is, you know, he's like, you gotta get it together kind of thing, and she's like, oh, it's fine, I'll sort it out, I promise. And then, you know, you see this other scene where, you know, Hugh wakes up and Olivia is basically sat on him with a screwdriver to his throat, and you kind of think, oh shit, like, you know, where did she go that time? What was she doing there? You really don't know what happens and why she does that. You know, is it the house that's messing with her head? Like, what is causing this poor woman to just fall into a pit of madness, basically? You know, flashing back to the past, you know, when I said about scratching behind the walls, there turns out to actually be a body behind the wall. You don't know who it belonged to, who it was, but throughout these episodes you have seen a lot of extra ghosts. We don't know who they are, we don't know where they've come from. Was that body belonging to one of them, or was it something completely different? You really don't know. Like, no one really knows, and, you know, Hill House has stood there for such a long time that just anything could have happened. Like, you don't know what the house was used for over the years, and you just really don't know. Then you also jump to, you have that moment where it's into storms again, and the Forever House just seems to be on the floor, but it's obliterated and you don't know why. And also, I don't know who it is. I think it's Olivia, but I'm not entirely sure. But it just comes crawling towards Theo, and Hugh kind of grabs her, falls to the ground, and kind of pulls her in to protect her. But it's good in one respect that the both of them saw it, because you kind of think, oh, okay, if two people saw it, then it must have happened. Like, you know, it could have been a trick of light if it was just one person, or you kind of think, oh, you know, did I just scare myself? You really, you know, it just puts a whole other spin on it. It really, really does. You know, you then kind of flash to this other scene where you have that final scene where Hugh is running towards the open door of the Red Room, and you kind of think, oh my god. So I hope I haven't missed anything out on this episode. I have a funny suspicion I have, so I am sorry if I have. Please feel free to discuss the bits I've missed amongst yourselves in the comments below. I will happily comment to and reply, so yeah. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all in the next episode. Bye!